the moment you've all been waiting for.
You are listening to 96.3 WGKC. Coming up next is the Phantasmic Journey podcast. Stay tuned. The Phantasmic Journey podcast is brought to you by Tascam and Amazon Studio. For more than 30 years, Tascam has developed products for every segment of the sound and music industry. From the high-end audio professional in a major post-production studio to the novice of hobbyist at home, Tascam is everywhere. They are a company committed to providing their customers audio and video solutions that enable breakthroughs by using sound in ways that are exciting as they are accessible, even recording the voices of the dead. You asked for a non-scripted paranormal TV show. You begged for a non-staged paranormal TV show. You begged and you pleaded, and we have listened. We present to you Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown. It was released October 31st, 2017. In this series, we show you what it's like behind the scenes and conducting a real paranormal investigation. Join Gavin Kelly, Paul Purcell, and their special guests to seek out the existence of life after death by going to numerous haunted locations such as jails, hospitals, battlefields, and museums, collecting compelling evidence by means of video, photography, and EVPs. In this season, the crew investigates the St. Albans Sanatorium, Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, Jailhouse Pizza, and the famed Monroe House. And you can watch Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown on Amazon.com right now. Season 2 and 3 will be coming soon. And good evening and welcome to the Phantasmic Journey podcast. We are coming to you live from the PGH studios here in downtown Paducah, Kentucky. I am your host, Gavin Kelly, and I'm sitting right next to me is my lovely wife, co-host, Paula Kelly. How you doing this evening?
I am doing pretty decent.
All right. Well, syndication is brought to you in part by Live 365 and iHeartRadio. You can listen live via the web by going to http://streaming.live365.com/A0036. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but let's do it an easier way. If you have an iPhone, just search in the App Store for Live 365, install it, run it, and search for WGKC, Today's Hottest Country. Same goes if you actually have an Android phone. Just search in the Google Play Store for Live 365 app, install it, run it, search for WGKC, Today's Hottest Country. Now, I'll bet you're wondering why WGKC, Today's Hottest Country. Well, to answer that question, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m., I am actually the DJ for a country radio station. Pretty cool, huh? Well, let's not get too sidetracked here. We have yet another ghost hunter from A&E's show, Ghost Hunters. Our guest was a former Marine Corps platoon sergeant. Now he is a paranormal investigator. A&E's Ghost Hunters. He uses his military experience to bring an organized, structured approach to each investigation, from creating a plan and assigning tasks to overseeing the mission from start to finish. He has founded his most recent team, Riverbend Paranormal. In 2007, he has conducted more than 200 investigations, many of them in private homes. Because of his day job in construction, he has solid knowledge of foundation, buildings, plumbing, allowing him to quickly assess, debunk structural situations that a homeowner might believe to be supernatural. He values the importance of evidence review, as in a multi-step process, and believes that in this business, nobody has all the right answers except for the dead themselves. I'm talking about our good friend, Brian Murray. Brian, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic.
All right. That's a pretty impressive bio you got there.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool that with your day job that you're able to assess and debunk structural situations such as, the house settling, foundation, the plumbing. I mean, that's perfect, because you can actually debunk if there's
water drops happening or the creaking of the floors and all that. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. I've been through many cases and locations where, you know, they keep hearing noises and these bangs and things, and as soon as I walk in, I can usually look in there and say, well, it's something going on with your plumbing, or here's what you got going on here. There's a bad part of your roof. It's definitely helped me out for sure.
Yeah, I can see that. So, let's go ahead and start this off with a bang here. When did you become first interested in the paranormal? 'Cause I do understand that you did start your own team in 2007, but how far back was it when you first started, and what got you interested in it?
16 years old. I was going to this girl's house. I was going to go try to date her.
Okay.
I went with my buddy. I went with my buddy Matt, and we went to her house. She went to the restroom, and her mother brought down like a tray of drinks.
Mm-hmm.
When she came down, she bent over to put the drinks on the table, and standing behind her looked like a man. He looked at me. He was grayish, made contact, probably 3 feet, 4 feet away from me, turned, walked, and just was gone.
Wow.
I immediately said to my buddy Matt, okay, it's time to go ahead and get out of here. Left. I've not talked to that girl to this day. And from that moment, I started researching, reading, watching any kind of documentary, you know, that was out there on the phenomena. And I've been doing it ever since. I'm still currently searching, you know, for the answers and the reasons for what what I saw that day. It all leads back to that first day. And I feel like it's a part of me.
Yeah. And you just continued on with it. And what would you say would be your most frightening experience on an investigation that you can remember?
I was at a schoolhouse called Hamilton Primary, or Otterville School.
Okay.
And I was hearing some footsteps downstairs. I was down there, again with Matt, and I went over to see what those footsteps, or where they were coming from. And when I did, something blew in my face so hard that I actually threw a punch.
Oh, wow.
Like I heard it. I felt it on my face, threw a punch. That would be probably, to me, the most scared I was, just because I wasn't, I didn't expect that. You know what I mean?
Swinging in midair.
Yeah, it was directly in my face. So that was probably it.
After you had that incident, did you try to investigate further to figure out what caused that?
Oh, absolutely. So I think as an investigator, even if you do get startled, I wouldn't say scared, because that's not what we want to do.
Right.
You know, our job is to go in there, figure out what's going on, to help the client out that is possibly scared. They've called us for a reason. So when we were in there, after the startle factor went away, a couple more minutes, back in the game, back in there trying to figure out what was going on. I still go back to that location now, and I still go down to that area. It's not finished for me. No case is.
Huh. Okay.
So, what was your first location you've ever investigated?
The first location that I think I investigated, what do you mean, is for a team or just myself?
Either or.
So for myself, I just, I would start when I was in the Marine Corps, probably 1998, 1997, when we would go out into the field and do our exercises or whatever you want to call it. There was this church that people said that it was haunted. So I'm supposed to be doing my training, but during the night I would go over to that church and try to snap pictures with my little camera, things like that. I would say that was my first time trying to investigate. Just going into this place, checking it out. I would always take pictures to every location that I went and trying to see if I caught anything in the film. And I would do research on the places and things like that. It wasn't until 2007 when I got out of the Marine Corps that I called my buddy Matt and decided, hey, we're watching these guys on TV. They're called the Ghost Hunters, and their basic not basic, but they're regular people. And they got jobs like me. They got jobs like you. And they're going to people's homes and they're figuring out what's going on. We can do this.
Right.
He says, I've been thinking about it too. So I told him I'm going to move home in just a few months. I'll be out of the Marine Corps, and we should do this. So I moved home. We went down to the Mineral Springs in Alton, one of my favorite places, and we went on a paranormal investigation. And we haven't stopped doing that. Riverbend Paranormal's still going. And now, of course, I've got Riverbend Paranormal, and I'm also doing it on a television show. It's all the same thing, though, really.
And there is nothing evil whatsoever in the Mineral Springs Hotel, right?
Nope. I do not think that at all. That would be my feeling, for sure. I've been there so many times. I love the place.
Oh, yeah. I don't blame you. We were there, and we got to spend, like 4 hours there or something like that? We went all around the Mineral Springs, did some experiments in both pools. Actually, I almost fell off the plank going into the smaller pool, because you got that plank that goes on down. It takes you into the pool, and it was kind of wobbly. Yeah, that was interesting. And
I've...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say I've never had a bad experience at Mineral at all. I've always been there, and I've always, during my investigations, or just actually being there, I love the building, so I go there and just look at it sometimes. I've never had a bad experience, and I've probably done over 70 investigations there.
Have you ever seen the rocking chair rock down in the big pool?
I've seen so many different things there. I'm sure I have. I've seen, just about anything you want to see there. I've seen it happen. I do believe the place to be very active. I think it is a very amazing location. I think every entity that's there is friendly or just wants to know who we are. And yeah, I love it. Did you see the rocking chair move?
Yeah, it happened to us. Paula was doing an EVP session, and she was like talking to a girl, and there was a doll in a rocking chair, and next thing you know, the thing started rocking. I don't know. At first, I thought it was my camera with the IR light playing tricks on me, because I was walking around in there because it was pitch dark. But all of a sudden, she's like, the rocking chair is rocking. You remember that? That little rocking chair just started rocking just a little bit, and there's no breeze in that place.
No, not at all, especially down there, almost underground, really.
So that was pretty interesting.
Oh, I love it.
Let's see. Oh, that's a good one for you to ask him right there, number 5.
Have you ever worked with a strange or weird case or location that you really didn't have an answer to?
Yeah, I would say that's happened before. Some people, when you go to their houses and locations, they're in these houses every single day. They live there, or they own these places. And, when we go in, as well as I do, we're not there as long as them.
Right.
We're there maybe 8 hours, maybe even just a couple of days. So if things or entities that are there don't want to make themselves known, they may not. You know what I mean?
Unless they're comfortable.
Sometimes you give them... You sit there and you give them the answer like, I was here for 12 hours. I've went through all of my footage. I've listened to all my audio. I've come up with nothing. And sometimes they get irritated.
Right.
I've been on some of those. I would not say that there's any case that I've been on that I haven't. I don't think that I've concluded really any of them. If anybody from 2007 wanted me to come back and investigate, I probably would still do it. Because I feel like it's our duty and it's our job to help them out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did have a woman one time, or a man one time, call me, and I was on a backhoe doing my job, and he says, "Is this the ghost dude?" And I said, "My name's Brian." He said, "But you're the ghost dude." The ghost dude. I said, "Well, I'm a paranormal investigator for Riverbend Paranormal. What can I help you with?" He's like, "I have a dead girl in my basement." So I said, "Call the police." What do you want me to do about that? You call the police. He's like, you don't understand. Nobody goes into this basement. It's been locked up for years. I come down there, or he says I go down there and I see little girl's clothes. I see writing on the wall. I see cracks in the sand, and nobody's been down here for years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, anyways, he continued to say that there was a dead girl, and I said, well, here's what I can do. I still want you to call the authorities if you believe that's happened. And he told me he wasn't good with cops. So once he told me that, I just was like, at this point, I'm not going to be able to help you. I felt like it could be unsafe, you know what I mean? He didn't like cops, and
Yeah.
he's got dead girls in his basement. So I would say that case right there, he never did call back. I don't know that anybody ever went there. I think he was kind of messing with me, but it was a strange one. Also, I've got one that her cell phone was haunted.
Oh,
And,
Lord.
Yeah. I told her it wasn't an iPhone, so that's why.
Well, you have heard that story. I don't know if you listened to our show. We did, who was on our show at that time? It was one of the Tennessee Race Chasers.
About Doogie and the chicken?
No. I'm talking about, I think it was Porter. We were talking to Porter, and Paula came up with a story about this kid that was killed, and they put him in his coffin with his cell phone.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know that story.
Yeah, that story was kind of weird and strange, but they said, and it's not the first time I've heard this story. I've heard this story a million times, that, parents, for some strange reason, especially if it's a teenager or a young adult, they bury their cell phone with them. Some of these parents go ahead and significant others pay for their cell phone service and leaves their of course the cell phone eventually is going to die,
Of course, battery.
in the coffin. But there was a couple of strange cases where they got a mystery call from that cell phone
I've heard
in
things
the
like
coffin.
this happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's just totally freaky. The guy that was the caretaker was like, I think he quit the next day.
Yeah, because he says the guy kept calling his phone, and he was he was like, he helped there. He was not like the director. He just kind of helped.
Yeah.
He kind of worked for them.
Yeah.
And he says for some reason that number kept popping up on his phone every night. He thought people were messing with him.
Mm-hmm.
Until that after they had buried him with he made sure the cell phone went down with the coffin.
Yeah.
And he said that 2 days later he got the call again, and he had nothing was said on the other side, but it was kind of strange that the call kept coming in, and he said after that he quit. He says he will not work at the home anymore.
I mean, that's just crazy.
I think they will always find a way to communicate with us,
oh, yeah.
or at least try. So,
I mean,
that's a strange one.
Yeah, I mean, that phone should have been dead within 24 hours.
A day or so, yeah.
2 days later, he gets a phone call. It's like, what? Oh, wow.
Crazy.
So, here's a good question. We always ask a lot of our guests this question, and the answers that we get are kind of interesting, but do you mentally prepare yourself before you go into an investigation?
I do. I never really, I sit there and I focus on, the details of what I want to figure out, how I'm going to base my questions, what I want to try to do. And I go through a routine of different things that I do before I go out there, which includes listening to, I listen to some of RuPaul's songs, and then I go to heavy metal and listen to Bullet for My Valentine before I go on every investigation.
Wait. You listen to RuPaul's songs and then go to metal?
Yeah, I go from one
extreme to another.
One extreme to the next. But
wow.
That's kind of my ritual. And I do a lot of just going over what I want to ask and what I want to try to do and what I want to try to figure out. What things I want to try to debunk. If I look at the claims and I want to say, they're hearing these footsteps or they're hearing these noises, what do I want to do with that?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of questions do I want to go with? And I listen to my music, I eat some chicken strips, and then I go.
And I'm assuming before you go to do an investigation, I'm not talking about residential, well, maybe residentials, do you do extensive research on the history of the location and actually find out what could cause the problem, or do you go in with an open mind?
So for me personally, I get just enough information that I think is pertinent. I have people on my teams and stuff like that who like to dive into the history and all that. I like to go in and let the evidence tell me the story.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I get I hear the claims, and then I go in and I base, my analysis off that. Or my findings, and I put the puzzle together basically after I do the investigation. For my type, and I'm not saying, however anybody wants to do it is up to them. But for me, if I know Mary hung herself in the dining room, when I walk into that house, everything that I've seen, heard, or witnessed is Mary hanging herself in that dining room.
Right. You basically kind of manifest it to yourself.
Yes. So I hear the claims, and then I figure out how I want to try to find a natural explanation for those claims first. And once I can't, then I start leaning on the evidence that I've collected. I'll listen to the evidence, and then after that's done, I'll figure out the historical part. I'll go to my historian and say, okay, here's what I got. I got an EVP that said, my name is Steve. Well, there used to be a Steve that lived here in 1920, that blah, blah, blah. That's how I do it. But people do it different ways. Some people want to know everything, and that's great. Just for me personally, that's the way I have to do it.
Yeah, for us, when we would go and investigate, we don't want to know the history of the place. I mean, Paula will go ahead and do research on it, because if it's something to do with the land, she wants to know about the land. She's not really concerned about what happened inside the property. She wants to see if it's ancient burial land, Native American, and things like that. She wants to find that out, but she totally doesn't go into
not a lot of detail. I know it's about your basic history, like how old the house is, and your
enough to get you through. That's
and
what
you know
like
that there was some deaths that happened in the house. Your basic stuff that maybe a realtor would, somebody would ask a realtor for a house that's for sale. It's kind of the same concept. Do you know if anybody died in this house? I mean, that is something you can legally ask.
And the realtor's going to lie. They're not going to tell you the house is haunted.
But
I mean, come on now. They definitely will not tell the consumer, oh, yeah, this house is haunted, by the way.
Well, they have had on a couple of incidents where the house went through so many landowners.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That, there has been a couple of realtors had to state up front that when anybody purchased this house, because if a person looks at the back history of a sale of a house, and this house had been sold 10 times in 5 years, don't you want to question why?
Nope, not really.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to do. I think they're supposed to say what has happened if somebody has died. I think that's part of the rules.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not 100% on that.
They put that little flappy sign that swings on there, says "Not haunted."
I've seen that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I mean, what do you think they put on the sign for Amityville when that family bought it?
They were a brave soul whoever bought that house. Not just for the fact if it's haunted or not haunted. It's just for the fact that the publicity that has spun around this house and the whole...
Oh, I know, right?
Changing the address does not work.
Oh, they did more than that. They didn't just change the address.
I had in when I was in the Marine Corps, one of my superiors, his aunt lived in just 2 or 3 houses down from that house.
Oh, wow.
And basically said it was an absolute nightmare.
Really?
It was sold all the time, and the amount of people that would drive through there to take pictures and people that would show up, it was terrible for him.
So what he ended up doing was changing the address and then taking out the iconic windows.
Yeah. Oh, I want the windows.
Right? I see those sometimes in different barns, and I'm just like, oh, my God. I think they...
Well, there's some houses down by me that have them in there, and I always look at them, I'm like, I want to go up there.
Yeah, I think the one of the upstairs for the Villisca Axe murder house has them, I think. It's up in the attic.
I can't remember.
It's up in the attic.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, there's 2 little windows that look like little teardrops side by side. That's crazy. Have you been there, Villisca?
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
That place is small, is it not?
It's small, but I mean, the history and what happened there is tragic, and Johnny is amazing, so I loved it. It's small, though.
I know. I've heard film crews trying to go in there, and they got shoulder rigs, and they're hitting the walls, and yeah, it wasn't pleasant.
Yeah.
So, what, in all of your years investigating, and I know this is probably going to go right into the show this year, but what do you feel is your most compelling piece of evidence you have ever captured?
Honestly, I think that that it played last night on the Fort Stanton episode. I feel like that was a good piece. I feel like what we caught at in Clifton. I feel like that's a good piece. That right there is just, to me personally, I believe that it was the beginning stages of a manifestation.
Right.
And obviously I can't prove it, but that's what I feel like it is. We're dealing with photons and different light anomalies, and I feel like that was a great piece. But last night was, I would have to say, one of the best that I've ever seen, and it doesn't mean because we found it. If anybody had got that piece of footage, I would be right on board with that. I don't sit there and think, anybody's better than anybody. We're all here trying to do the same thing. But honestly, last night was a good piece. I would say that. You haven't even seen it yet.
Nope, haven't seen it yet.
When you watch it, you better message me and you tell me what you think of that.
Oh yeah,
it was incredible. I feel like it was.
Oh yeah, I will. After I watched the first two, Mustafa was like, "So, what do you think? What do you think?" And then Brandon was like, "So, what do you think of that piece that we captured with the camera?" I'm just like, I was blown away. And the part when you went ahead and lit a match, and it actually matched that, but not the colorization of it, when you went pixel by pixel. That was interesting.
That's what people don't understand. Like, they see, as far as like the television part goes, they see 43 minutes of days and days. We're there, like Clifton, we were there for 2 weeks.
Damn, 2 weeks.
You're talking, 2 weeks. I mean, it was a whole town. And you're talking, these are 12 to 15-hour days of investigating. Then you got to factor in, you got to go through all the evidence. And we do that ourselves. We don't have a team that does that. We do it ourselves. All 6 of us, all 7 of us, we sit down there and we go through everything that we've done. So you're seeing 43 minutes. The amount of hours Brandon and I and the team put in to debunking that was almost a whole night of trying to go over everything, picking up the pillows and saying, because we know as investigators, this as well. People are going to say, that's an orb, that's dust, that's a bug.
Right.
We know that, so we got to make sure people at home are seeing that. We had an IR camera set up. We had the EMCCD camera set up. We had body cameras set up. You can see dust on cameras that show up and that use IR lighting.
Right.
This does not use IR lighting. You could not see that dust.
Yeah, I saw that when you were slamming pillows together. Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, I got sick from that.
Oh, geez. That's not good.
Yeah, I was sick for 3 or 4 days after that. But the amount of time we put into trying to figure these out, instead of just throwing something out and saying, we caught the biggest thing, we caught poltergeist, we got the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that goes into trying to figure it out. And I think we did a great job of saying, it's paranormal at this point because we can't find a natural explanation for what we witnessed. We did not see any of that with our eyes.
Yeah.
The only way you could see those images was through that camera.
Man.
And what started that off was the footsteps that sounded like they were coming towards us.
Right.
That's a little part. I don't know if you heard that or not, but I was like, did you hear that? It's like footsteps. And then we start seeing those anomalies in the same path as the claim itself. That's what I thought was great.
Well, the spiral one kind of got me. I was just like, what in the world? It was doing corkscrews.
Yep. No, and that when we saw that, I mean, the other ones were, I thought they were all incredible because we were only seeing that on that one camera. But when you started seeing the spiral, I've not seen a bug. I've not seen anomalies fly like that. We didn't know where it came from. I'm stumped, but, we're on to something, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe that camera, the EMCCD camera is something that people are going to want to try to dive into and figure out, the inner workings and what it's coming up with, because to this point, have we seen something that is able to pick up photon events or things like that? Have we seen that to this point? I would say no.
Yeah, I was talking to Brandon about that because I was just like, I go, here's my theory on it. And he's like, okay, go ahead. I'm like, well, lightning bugs, before they totally light up, you can actually see a heat signature on them until they fully illuminate. Right. And that's when he was like, well, you need to check out the pixel by pixel because there's nothing there that shows wings. But he goes, yeah, I kind of agree on that. But yeah, that's what I came up with when I first saw that. I was just like, lightning bugs, because we got lightning bugs out the ass over here at the house. And
sure, I got them here.
Yeah, and you can see they kind of sort of illuminate just a little bit. They're not fully lit, but you can kind of see that they actually do have a heat signature, and all of a sudden, boom, then they're fully bright. So that's what I thought at first.
The boarding house itself, that's where that footage was caught. That's where that was captured.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, the deep moan was from there. The screw that came out of nowhere. It looks like a little apartment.
Right.
We don't know where the screw came, so that happened to Rochelle and Kristen. Not only that, but Rochelle and Kristen were also getting the same phenomenon on that camera. This went on for about 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Man, that sucked. They need to show more of that stuff.
And that's the thing. It's hard to show. I mean, if we could have, 5-hour slots every time, that'd be great. But you got to put in, we don't get to pick, and the editors they do a great job. Hopefully, and I don't know if this is going to happen, but hopefully they will show like the last season they did like some outtakes of
right.
Other things that we did, and maybe they'll do that. I know that they are starting to show, like, I came on the next day after the episode and showed, like, the raw footage of what was going on at that moment. There's a lot of bad words and stuff. And
beep!
There was, because honestly, when you're in a room and you feel like something was running at you, and then you're seeing stuff happen on a camera that you cannot see in the same path, and you've already had several experiences from that room. The excitement. Let's not get this twisted. There was excitement there.
Yeah.
Not scared. Because we spent a lot of time in it. It was exciting. It's exciting for any investigator to go out and find something that they had never caught before, or even when you get a great EVP, it's exciting. It's exciting to you. Tell me it's not. It's exciting to you anytime any team or any investigator goes out and makes, a great capture or tries to advance the field somehow. Mm-hmm. That's what we're here to do.
Exactly. I don't know if you've ever been asked this question. This is hilarious, but we have talked to a lot of investigators that are out on all the shows. We've talked to Nick Groff from Paranormal Lockdown. We've talked to the Ghost Brothers. We've talked to Tennessee Race Chasers. We've talked to the original Ghost Hunters. We've been talking to the new Ghost Hunters. But people always ask us this. You guys are there for, like you stated, a week to 2 weeks. But when we're watching the episodes, y'all are wearing the same clothes.
Yeah, I've got a lot of the same outfit.
I kind of tell them that. I'm like, well, I bet you they have, the same amount of shirts and stuff. But they're like, no, because when you watch it, you're actually thinking that you're wearing the same clothes for a week.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
you are wearing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
you have to have consistency.
For instance, yes, consistency, and and things like that. Like, I will have 3 or 4 different shirts, or I'll have 3 or 4 different pairs of pants, you know? But it's all the same. That's just the way it goes. So you're in those for a while.
Yeah, I'll bet. That was kind of crazy.
You can get pretty right sometimes.
Especially traveling in the same vehicle for a long time.
Oh, traveling,
man.
Oh, man, I bet you have totally racked up those frequent flyer miles.
Been everywhere. Let me tell you this. When we were in Vicksburg, it was like 105 degrees.
Woo!
With about 1,000% humidity.
Oh, God.
And Mike Couch was there with us. I love Mike. And he's investigating with us. We're sweating so bad. It looked like we sprang leaks. I changed, I had 4 or 5 of the same shirt. I bet I changed into every single one of them that night. It was so, we went from extreme heat like that to places in season 2 that were
icy cold.
So cold that, like Rochelle had bought heated pants.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Like she pushed it. Oh, we're talking like 3 degrees.
Yeah, they went to Alaska.
Oh.
See,
Alaska was just like being in Kentucky or Illinois. It was 35, 37 degrees. It wasn't even bad. You guys, and we're used to that, being from where we're from.
Yeah.
But when we were in Colorado, like you'll see next week, it snowed every day, and it was literally like 7 degrees, fully snowing.
Whew.
Yeah, it was. We went from seriously like 1 week it was 90, the next week it was like 15.
Well, since you had filmed in different temperatures, drastic changes in temperatures, do you think temperature has a sort of a certain degree when it comes to getting evidence or encountering paranormal? Is it better in colder weather to investigate, or is it better in hot weather, or does it really matter?
To me, personally, I feel like it doesn't matter. If these entities want to make themselves known, they're going to. For season 2, we went to these places that nobody's really been to. There's a couple of places that we went that you guys will know, but for the most part, we went to places as the first group. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of miles away from civilization, where we had to take aircraft to get there, or we had to ride on ATVs to get out into this area that we needed to go to, or we took 4 or 5 hour ferry trips to get to where we need to. These places were isolated. These entities have never been introduced to people that are coming to try to figure them out or talk to them and find out their story.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that the weather necessarily means that much to me. Some other people will probably think it does, but to me it doesn't. If they want to make themselves known, I feel like they're going to. That's why I like day investigations just as much as nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
We do nighttime, we see the shows and we do the things at night because it cuts down on a lot of the contamination.
Right.
Most people are in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning,
mm-hmm.
1 o'clock in the morning. Cuts down that contamination. But if you really think about it, when did most things go on? In the day.
Yeah.
People did their jobs mostly in the day. School was in the day.
Yeah.
You know, people went to school during the day. So, honestly, I just feel like if they want to make themselves known, they're going to make themselves known.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Have you ever been to a location? And the deal is, you don't have to really answer this because I know this might be something related to season 2, but you can be a roundabout on it. In the past, in all the
sneaky,
years,
aren't you?
Yeah, well, in all the years of investigating, including before getting with your team and your team, the show, and everything, have you ever been to a location that terrified you or made you feel insecure?
I don't think that I have been to a location that terrified me. I feel like I've walked into places or stood outside of locations that have made me feel uneasy. But as far as being terrified, I mean, my goal is to go out and figure out what's going on. my goal is to help the person that called us. Or if I'm just going to a place because I want to have an experience, that's my ultimate goal, is to have that experience. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if I go in and I'm already scared, I can't function.
That's true.
I'm terrified. I can't function and do what I need to do. So I won't say that any place has terrified me, but I will say there have been locations that was uneasy. Okay, if you look at Madison Seminary, I wasn't scared. I was getting angry. Ooh. Something that I had never happened. I've never had that before.
So with that being said, adding on to that question, do you ever feel like your equilibrium's off when you go into locations? Because personally, I have been to locations where I've had to actually leave the building because my equilibrium will be off, or I would get severe migraines to where the point I want to throw up. But as soon as I leave the building, go outside, go sit in the vehicle, get away from the building, I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah, I've had that happen before. I've had that happen on a couple of different locations. First thing I think about, if I'm getting that feeling where I'm starting to get ill or I just need to get out of there, I start to look for the high EMFs. Are they high? Am I sensitive to that?
Right.
What's going on? I check that stuff out first. But I've been to locations where I've walked out because I'm like, golly, man, I'm starting to feel queasy or I feel off balance and things like that. Definitely been to places like that.
At least you're not leaving the place going, I'm possessed.
No. I can tell you I've never been possessed.
So the question is, getting on about the possession and all that stuff, what is your opinion about what percentage of everything that we associate with in the paranormal do you believe is actually evil?
Oh,
Less than 1%.
How many?
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%. And I'll tell you the way I believe. I feel like, honestly, if you're a bad person or you're a jerk in life,
you'll be a jerk in the afterlife, yeah.
In the afterlife.
Yep.
And I feel like, let's just say that you built this home, and this is everything you wanted in life, and you built this home, and you poured your heart and soul into this home.
Mm-hmm.
You tragically pass away. You were able to remain there and stay there in your beautiful home. And now people are coming in and they're knocking down walls and they're changing up your home. This was yours, your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you be a little irritated?
Oh, yeah, they get a little pissed off.
Hollywood has made every dark shadow, every haunted story, every ghost story as something bad.
Oh, yeah.
And I just don't believe it. I've been investigating for over 20 years, and I can honestly say, I've never come across anything so terrible that I thought, I need to get an exorcist. I'm dealing with something demonic. I've never come across that. That's me.
So, on your take, how do you feel about the term demonic? Because personally, for me, I know that there's a rarity of exorcisms, and it's usually done by a real professional priest from the Vatican. But now lately, you got all these demonologists just taking a course online, and next thing you know, they're saying they're demonologists and they're doing exorcism, which I truly believe is not true, because the real exorcism would have been like the time with the Exorcist boy. The one was over at with Jefferson's Hospital in St. Louis, I think. Actually, it was Georgia. It wasn't St. Louis. They had him at the house. They had him at the house, and they took him out and took him to the hospital.
Yeah, they took him to St. Louis, I think. But I think it started in Maryland, if I'm right. I don't know. Here's how I think about it. Okay, I do believe that there is a possibility of inhuman demonic entities. I do believe that. Okay? I don't believe that it's every time you get or you go to a location and activity starts happening. I don't necessarily believe that it's a demonic presence.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People that get scratched here's what I think about that. we've talked about this on our team a lot. And I don't know who on our team come up with this, but it makes perfect sense. Think about scratches, people getting scratched.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they automatically go, it's got to be something bad. They scratched me. But think about this. How much energy does it take for an entity to do anything? Great deal, right?
Oh, yeah,
It takes
a lot.
a great deal to make a voice, to manifest, to show itself, to move things, to do anything. It takes a great deal of energy.
Mm-hmm.
What if they're trying to reach out to you because they want to communicate with you, and it takes all the energy they can to try to do that, and they're just touching you, and it ends up being a scratch. You're thinking it's bad, but it's really something that they want to get closer to you.
Well, why would their fingers be sharp?
Have you ever reached for something, and let's just say you're trying to fall, and you're just reaching for something?
Yeah.
What if that's the case? What if it's just, hey, I want to get to know you. I'm trying to reach out to you. I just want people to try to get past everything being bad.
Right.
And everything being negative. And there's a lot of things out there that we see and read that suggest if you've got something going on, it's automatically bad.
Well, of course.
You know what I mean?
Well, of course, going back to the scratches, when someone gets 3 scratches, they automatically jump to, oh my God, it's just the mark of the Trinity. It's evil.
Yeah, they do say that. I think a lot of that might be some Hollywood stuff as well. And I'm not saying that when people get scratched, it's not in a bad manner.
Right.
But not at all. But I'm saying, do we automatically need to go to that level of, that's a demonic force because I got scratched? That's something bad.
Yeah, no.
I've been in multiple fights with people that I consider bad people at that moment who have scratched me, who have hit me, and I don't think necessarily that they're evil or demonic. I just think they got a good lick on me. You know what I mean? Am I making any sense?
It's a spiritual hit.
There you go. I just don't think everything's bad.
Yeah, it not always is.
No, but they've given that perception to...
I wonder what show did that.
Well, just in general. I mean, it's not just the shows. The movies have. They brought...
Oh, God, Hollywood,
They brought the fear out to where people are getting to the point they're afraid of their own shadows.
Yep.
And
Well,
it makes you have those people call you because something strange is happening in their house and they're afraid of their own house. The question is how can you interpret what's going on in their house to make them feel comfortable about living in their house and not sell it to the next person down the street?
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. Like I said, it's a combination between Hollywood and books that we've read and, other investigators that have made it be known that anything that's happening is something bad, and that's just not necessarily the case, in my opinion.
Yeah, we actually did an event with Keith Age and Rick Hayes at the Doss House in Evansville, Indiana, and we all had our own groups to take around the house. And what?
That was the worst experience I've had.
Oh, I thought you were like shaking your head like I'm telling the story wrong. But anyway, she had a group of teenagers, and they're like, "Are we going to see a ghost? I can't wait. I hope we get to see a ghost." So she got those.
I got that group, and they were over there, and I was trying to explain to them. I had an EMF meter, and I had the spirit box. And because I don't carry very much with me when I do my own private investigations. I have an EMF meter, I use a spirit box, and I have an Eddie box. That's about the only thing I ever use. And they just went ballistic as in, what do we do there? What do we do that? Are we going to have this, and this? And they always compared everything that they watched on TV.
Oh, yeah.
I was at the point, because I had left them purposely in the room by themselves, and I shut the lights off. And I left them in the dark all by themselves. And I was like, if you're going to learn an experience, I told them to keep their mouths shut. And I did. I wasn't being rude about it, but I was telling them, basically, be quiet, don't touch anything, personally, if you can have one person sitting on side of the room and there's 4 corners in this room. Y'all eat, there's 4 of you. Each one of you get your own corner. Do not talk, do not do anything. And listen, because that's your best, use your senses. That's the best thing you can do as an investigating tool, is to use your own common sense.
And then
It got to the point that I was about ready to get me a bed sheet and run through the room and go holler boo.
But it was funny, though, because they all ran out. They all ran out when the Kinect camera picked up something rummaging on like the furniture, not the furniture, the luggage on the bed. And there was nobody there except for your girls.
Yeah, I went and got the Kinect camera because they wanted something visual, and I'm over here going...
And it popped up.
And I was like, okay, we'll just, we'll see what happens with this. So they wanting something visual, so I did. I'm not a big Kinect person. Gavin is, but I'm not. So
sure, blame me.
So I went down there and I said, let me have it because I've got to do something because I had 17 to 19-year-olds. And I'm like, and I need to have something visual because these guys are not listening to me. And it was a joke. And so I did. It popped up and it did look like somebody was sitting on the bed or somebody. It had picked up the luggage is what it did.
It was funny, though.
And it was funny as heck because they all left the room and they would not come back in the room.
Yep.
They were downstairs. They were sitting in the main living room, and they were ready to go home.
Yeah,
that's a learning lesson for them.
But it was weird because the Kinect actually took a stick figure, and it looked like it was rummaging through the luggage on the bed. You could actually see it. It was moving like it was rummaging through the luggage. I saw it. I'm like, oh, that is so cool. I took a video of my phone.
Yeah, and it's funny because my daughter had band competition that weekend, and we had to go hurry up and pick her up, and she had to come back with us to the investigation because we were there the whole weekend.
Yep.
And she was not very far from us, and she goes, "Am I sleeping in this room?" I said, "Yeah." She saw the Kinect camera, and she saw that going on in the camera. And she goes, "Well, he's just going to have to move over because I don't have a problem with him sleeping in the bed, but he's got one side of the bed and I got the other."
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't really faze her. She's just like, okay, yeah, well, whatever.
Now my other daughter, she's afraid of her own shadow.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. All right, so how do you feel about people being more open to the paranormal compared to, say, 20 to 25 years ago? Do you believe that the shows are helping it to be more open on the subject?
I believe the shows have helped in a lot of different areas. I feel like they've helped open the door to, going to more locations. People feel more comfortable talking about it, for sure. I think technology's advanced to make people more interested in it. They can do their own EVP sessions with just their phones at their house.
Right.
So people that didn't want to talk about it can do their own investigation without anybody even knowing. So I definitely believe that the shows have helped in that area for sure. And I believe it is more open now, and I think that's going to continue. I see this down the line as being an actual science where people go to school and they study it, they get degrees in it, and they do this as a career, and that's what I'm hoping for. Let's advance to that. Let's make this a known science instead of trying to get it there. Let's do this. Let's advance. Let's go further. We've done EVP sessions. We've done, these types of investigation. Let's continue to do those, but let's advance them. Let's find new ways to make this more appealing to everyone so everybody's talking about it. That's my goal. That's our goal. That should be our goal.
Yeah, but the only problem is if you're going to try to lean towards scientific principles and methodologies, it's going to be kind of hard to actually do an experiment in a non-controlled environment, because a lot of scientists always do stuff in controlled environments. Well, you really can't do that in a haunted location unless you pick the sucker up and stick it in a big glass box.
You're right. It's going to take some time, but we're going to figure it out for sure.
I brought that up to Brandon. He's like, yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I do believe that I do believe that we're going to get to the point where, there's going to be this evidence captured that the world's going to see, that they're going to look at it and say, okay, there is something to this. Let's get this figured out scientifically. And I feel like we're going to eventually get there. Investigation's been going on since 1700s.
Yeah.
Probably before that.
Well,
Probably before that. But I think the, like, first actual ghosting was in the late 1700s or early 1800s.
right.
You know what I mean? And I believe that from where they were to where we're at now, we're advancing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like we're going to continue to do that.
The thing is, we need to figure out exactly what type of energy the entities are. And thus far, you guys have encountered one. Photons. So they're part of that matter, but what else are they part of?
That's what I'm saying. See, little steps to, you know, we're advancing.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just ghost hunters themselves, but, you know, investigators in general are reaching out and they're trying to get new technology and they're trying to base, you know, their findings on facts rather than, oh, that was cool, we found something. They're trying. They're not just taking an EVP and settling. They're going further.
Yeah.
And the more we continue that, and the more we look outside of the box and try to figure it out, I feel like we're definitely going to get there at some point. It might not be in our lifetime,
Right.
but we're not going to stop trying. You know?
Well, do you feel that an entity is possibly based around static? Because that's where most of the ghost hunting devices are. They're the static REM pod, they're static this, they're static that, and then once something disrupts the static field, they think that it has something to do with paranormal. Do you think it could possibly be something else that is disrupting that field?
I believe it's some form of energy, and I feel like we're going to figure it out, whether it's photonic energy. I think it's a combination of different things that we're going to find out. But as far as it being, I think that could be part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just as, you know, we're all clueless right now.
Yeah.
I said it in my, what's it called? My biography, whatever thing that you read off.
Uh-huh.
The only one that has the absolute answers to this is the dead themselves.
Yeah.
They know what's going on. And I feel like we're inching closer. And we're going to figure out what it is. And we're going to be able to eventually, in my opinion, I feel like we're going to be able to have full-on conversation. And we're going to learn things. And, I mean, we had dinosaurs, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't picked any of that up on EVP.
Well, no, we actually
That's
do.
what I'm saying.
Remember, I told you, when you're doing an EVP and you get a growl, that's a velociraptor.
There you go.
And if you get any grunts, well, that's just a caveman. Well, see, here's the thing.
Yep.
Try to figure this one out for me. Whenever you're doing EVPs or you're at a location and you're investigating, you're always getting something to do with the Civil War era or the 1800s. How come there's nothing from, like, our time, and, of course, we have been asked this, or the dinosaur time? It's always 1800s on up to, like, the Civil War era, but nothing after or nothing before. It's always just them. And one of the crazy answers I got was, he said, I think it was Porter that said it, picture the life of Beetlejuice. You're down there, and you've got all these people in their cells, and they're basically working their ways on up. So once they get to the highest level, well, then, of course, at that point, they're able to be seen. They're able to talk. Well, all the other ones haven't quite made it there yet.
I think that's a pretty good one. I like the fact that I stick firm with when they want to, they're going to. When they want to communicate, when they want to, you know, make themselves known, they'll find the way to do it. I believe that.
All right. That's a good answer. All right. Well, this is your time to go ahead and let our listeners know where they can find you. If you're going to be going to any events, which I'm probably thinking are probably canceled until probably the middle of this year. But if you have anything that's scheduled for, like, you know, July, October, September, something like that, where they can come and see you, I'm pretty sure we're going to see you at, let me see, SilCon. We're going to see you at Gettysburg, hopefully, right?
I think he's at.
Yep.
Yep.
Are you going to be at Fright Fest?
I honestly, right now, I have my calendar upstairs. It says where I'm going to be. I don't really know. Things have been moving because of the virus.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing for me to do on that is post online where I'm going to be.
Okay.
I've got different social medias because they've been changing. Even today, some have changed. So as far as actual solid dates, I know that you can see me on Wednesday nights on A&E.
Right? There's a good
9
plug.
p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or anybody can contact me on any of the social medias. Facebook would be just Brian Murray, GH. Twitter and Instagram would be Brian _Murray, GH. You can message me, talk to me. I talk to everybody, and I don't have any issues with that. I love doing it, actually. So you can find me on any of those. I do some Facebook Lives usually on Thursdays. Tonight, obviously, I won't be because I'm talking with you guys.
Right?
Yeah. So definitely those are the places that you can, find me or see me. As far as events and things like that, I do have some coming up, but since the virus is so crazy and ruining everything for people, dates have been changing. So as far as solid dates, I can post them, but I don't know them offhand because even up to today, some have changed.
Oh, yeah. I believe it. We had to postpone our filming for Truth or Legends in Your Hometown Season 2. We had a lot of locations that we were supposed to be at, but...
Yeah, I just threw that whole schedule book away. I said, I'm
pretty
done.
much, yeah.
I'm pretty done.
Yeah. We were supposed to film Season 2 and 3 this year because next year we're filming one of our old shows for a network. We actually got the show picked up. And
that's good.
Yeah, I can't believe it. But we have to start filming our new episodes for that next year, but now we're not going to be able to because we have to film Season 3 next year of Truth or Legends. So either we're going to try to do them in parallel, which I think we're probably going to kill ourselves on because it's going to take us to different locations.
Yeah.
So...
Good.
I don't know.
Well, I'm glad things are working out for you guys, and I do appreciate you having me on. It's been fun.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
I always enjoy talking to you guys anyways.
Oh, yeah. So, let's see. What time is it? Oh, my goodness.
It is 9:02.
It's 9:02, yeah. All right, man. Well, we appreciate you being on the show. And
yeah, man.
Your replay for this show will probably be up in 24 hours, so I'll give you the links.
Sure.
On my page, and you can go ahead and share it on out to everybody, so that way the ones that missed the show, they can actually listen to the replay, which is a good thing.
Sounds good, guys. I appreciate you guys having me, and please be safe.
Oh, we're trying.
Yeah.
You stay healthy.
Hey, and go watch the episode from last night, Fort Stanton. I want to know what you think.
Oh, I am. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on the DVR.
Do it.
All right, man. You take it easy and have yourself a great evening.
You guys, too. Thanks for having me.
All right, no problem.
Have a night.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You too. Bye.
All right, well, there you have it. A&E's Ghost Hunter Brian Murray. You can catch him every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central, or is it 8 p.m. Eastern? Heck, I think it's 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And they're on every Wednesday night. But join us next week. We are going to be talking to Kristen Luman. She is also on A&E's Ghost Hunters. I want to bid everybody a good night. Stay healthy. Wash them hands.
And I want to do a shout out to Autumn and Amber Henson for their 22nd birthday.
Oh, yeah. Yep. The big 2-2. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I told them I'd do a shout out since we can't do a birthday party.
No. Yeah. We're stuck in lockdown. So, everyone, you have yourself a good evening.